So, with the WNBA expansion draft happening soon-ish, we are going to be talking about who the Indiana Fever will protect, which 6 players they're going to protect.
Just now, Indiana Fever fired these WNBA players from Fever roster. Chaos is brewing in the WNBA, and the Indiana Fever just dropped a bombshell. Some players are packing their bags, while others have become the untouchable cornerstones of the franchise.
So the Indiana Fever and Alyssa Smith is been something that has just been a one woman tirade against not even an organization, just against a coach from day one.
At the center of this storm is Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom rewriting history before even stepping onto a professional court. Her scoring prowess, court vision, and unstoppable charisma are transforming the Fever into a powerhouse.
And I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport.
But not everyone is cheering her rise. Angel Reese and Aja Wilson have emerged as vocal critics, casting shadows on Clark's meteoric ascent.
Caitlin Clark just came in to play basketball. All of a sudden, the black women of the WNBA decided to knock her on her ass from behind. All of a sudden, the black women, Angel Reese and her teammates, decided to cheer for them. All of a sudden, other black women decided, like Aja Wilson, to be idiots when talking about her, jealous when they're talking about her. Caitlin Clark and her fans didn't start anything.
While they try to dim her light, Clark continues to shine brighter, showing why she's the future of not just the Fever, but the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark is just such a class act. She was incredible, breaking all types of records, and that's something she was certainly proud of. We saw lots of smiles on the court.
Caitlin is the face right now, and that's also good. She's selling out gyms, of course. Why would you hate against that?
Yet, amidst this clash, the Fever have tough decisions to make. Veterans and young stars alike are on the chopping block, and it's not just a battle for roster spots. It's a fight for the team's identity. Who stays? Who goes? And what does this mean for the Fever's championship dreams? Stick around, because this is the inside story you can't miss.
If they somehow did not protect Caitlin Clark and let her go to Golden State, it would be the dumbest thing in the history of basketball.
Caitlin Clark is not just a basketball player, she's a phenomenon. Her arrival has shaken the WNBA to its core, and the Indiana Fever are staking their entire future on her.
The WNBA tried to capitalize on her popularity and crammed a lot of games in over a short amount of time, playing against the best teams in the WNBA.
This rookie hasn't even played a professional game yet, but her presence has already made the Fever the most talked about team in the league. Why? Because she's not just rewriting the record books, she's rewriting what it means to be a basketball superstar.
And it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour, but when she is the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, she's gonna lift that league up.
Clark's college numbers are jaw-dropping, scoring titles, triple-doubles, and highlights that go viral within seconds. Fans don't just watch her games, they live for them. Her court vision is unreal, like she has a sixth sense for where every player is at every moment. And her scoring? She's a walking bucket, pulling up from distances that make defenders shake their heads in disbelief.
Caitlin Clark is becoming the best player, not because she's white, because she's that good. She's having Larry Bird impact. She's been the driving force of the hottest team in the entire league, despite her record turnovers.
But Clark's impact goes beyond the stats. She's a cultural icon in the making. Her jersey sales are already through the roof, and she's packing arenas even during warm-ups. The Fever aren't just protecting a player, they're protecting the very identity of their team. Losing her would be the biggest disaster in WNBA history.
Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this.
But Angel Reese and Aja Wilson have taken issue with her.
That idiot Angel Reese is trying so hard to latch on to Caitlin Clark by being the heel and then crying about it. You all did this. You all called her a white bitch constantly. You all did this.
Reese, riding on her LSU fame, has been vocal about her disdain for Clark's style of play. And Wilson. She might be an MVP, but her remarks about Clark being overhyped scream one thing: jealousy. But the fans see through it. They know Caitlin Clark is the real deal. Reese and Wilson may try to tear her down, but their criticisms only fuel her determination to dominate.
There is nobody interesting in the WNBA past or present except for Caitlin Clark. They've all shown themselves to be sexist, racist, petty, ridiculous.
Clark's partnership with Aaliyah Boston is already becoming legendary, with the duo forming one of the deadliest pick-and-roll combos in the league. Boston even admits she trusts Clark's decisions on the court more than anyone else's. Together, they are poised to carry the Fever into a new era of greatness. For now, Clark stands untouchable, unshaken by the noise, undeterred by the haters, and ready to prove that she's not just the future of Indiana Fever, but the WNBA as a whole.
Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. These are two of the most sought after players in the WNBA, probably have two of the highest trade values in the W. They are not, under any circumstances, gonna be allowed to leave.
But Caitlin Clark isn't the Fever's only concern. While she's a guaranteed lock for protection, others on the roster are hanging by a thread. The Fever must decide who gets to stand alongside this rising superstar and who gets cut loose. In this cutthroat environment, loyalty takes a backseat to results. With Caitlin Clark secured as the centerpiece of their future, the Indiana Fever now face the toughest choices in franchise history.
I think the Mystics are probably not going to protect Carly Samuelson. I think they're going to take Katie Lou and Carly Samuelson.
Building a team around Clark requires more than star power. It demands precision, sacrifice, and, yes, some brutal calls. As much as Clark's rise is set to carry the Fever to new heights, who surrounds her could be the difference between a championship dynasty and wasted potential.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie, targeted by society, targeted by her looks, targeted by her reputation, targeted by the disrespect that they've shown to the WNBA.
The Fever must protect 6 players in the upcoming expansion draft. That's it. Every unprotected name becomes a target for the new Golden State Valkyries and Portland Pilots. And while some choices are easy, others come with heart-wrenching consequences. At the heart of this dilemma is Kelsey Mitchell, the team's fearless scorer and emotional leader.
As we were preparing to be even better, as a better place to play, a new practice court, a new arena, all the remodels. I mean, Kelsey went through all of that. She's extremely important to the success of the future.
Mitchell has been with the Fever through thick and thin, leading them with her electrifying offense. She can light up the scoreboard with ease, dropping 20 points on any given night. But here's the catch. Her contract situation is a time bomb. Mitchell is an unrestricted free agent, and the Fever have a choice. Use the WNBA's core designation to keep her or risk losing her to another team.
The Fever can protect 6 players, and I'm not entirely sure if coring Kelsey Mitchell is a 7th or not.
Coring her would lock Mitchell in, but at a steep cost. It eats up a significant chunk of the salary cap, limiting the Fever's flexibility to sign other players. On the flip side, not coring her opens the door for teams like the Valkyries to snatch her away for nothing. Imagine Caitlin Clark dominating on the court, but without Mitchell to help shoulder the offensive load. It's a gamble the Fever can't afford to lose.
She's great. She's a great player, great person. Obviously very hard to defend. So she's bringing a great offensive game to the Fever, and just excited to see how she does this year.
But even as they navigate the Mitchell conundrum, another player is forcing the Fever to reconsider their strategy. Lexi Hull. Just a season ago, Hull was a question mark, struggling with her shooting and finding her place in the lineup. Fast forward to now, and she's transformed into one of the league's most dangerous three-point shooters, hitting over 50% from beyond the arc in the last 16 games of the season. Her newfound consistency is impossible to ignore.
Again, she went from the worst three-point shooting guard in the entire WNBA to the best three-point shooter in the NBA. Through 24 games, she was the lowest percentage three-point shooting guard. And then through the last 16 games, she shot so well that she ended up shooting above 50% of the season. Either way, though, Lexi Hull is going to be there. She's going to probably be a starter. Ideally, she'd be coming off the bench.
Hull isn't just a sharpshooter, she's proof that hard work pays off. She's young, improving rapidly, and already showing signs of being a key piece in the Fever's long-term plans. Protecting her means betting on her potential, but it also means taking a spot away from more established players. Then there's NaLyssa Smith, another rising star whose athleticism and raw talent make her a hot commodity. Smith has the potential to be a game changer, but her consistency has been a lingering issue. Even so, her value on the open market is sky high, and losing her would be a catastrophic blow to the Fever's rebuilding process.
If they are to make a trade, NaLyssa Smith has to be involved in it. She has more value on the open market than a Damar Santos. She has more value in the open market than a Temi. If her impact has ever matched her talent, either way though, NaLyssa Smith is going to be protected.
If the Fever ever consider a major trade, Smith would undoubtedly be a centerpiece, making her unprotected status highly unlikely. And finally, the Fever must weigh the value of veteran leadership. Players like Erica Wheeler and Tiffany Mitchell have been loyal contributors, but in a league that's getting faster and younger, do they still fit the team's vision? Leaving them unprotected could allow expansion teams to scoop up their experience, but it would also free up spots for younger players with greater long-term potential.
When you think about the great point guards and post players that our game, not just our league, but our game has seen, they are going to go down as the greatest. And I'm excited about the opportunity to work with them. I'm excited about the opportunity that we have to build.
These decisions are not just about talent, they're about identity. Who will be the players that define the Caitlin Clark era of Indiana Fever basketball? The choices the Fever make now will ripple through the franchise for years, shaping whether they rise to dominate the league or falter in the face of missed opportunities. Every choice carries risk, and every risk could either solidify the Fever's future or haunt them for a generation. One thing is certain, the pressure is on and there's no room for error. The Fever's front office is walking a tightrope, with the weight of their team's destiny hanging in the balance. As the Indiana Fever brace for the expansion draft, the weight of their decisions is compounded by the strategic challenges that loom over their roster. The question isn't just who to protect, but how to navigate the precarious balancing act between securing rising stars, keeping veteran leadership, and managing the salary cap. With Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston as the unquestioned foundation, every other piece must fit perfectly to create a championship caliber puzzle. One of the biggest hurdles is the coring dilemma with Kelsey Mitchell. Coring her would ensure that the Fever retain their star scorer, but it comes at a steep price. The WNBA's salary cap is unforgiving, and locking up Mitchell means less financial flexibility to invest in other key players. For example, if Mitchell is cored, it could make it harder to offer competitive contracts to young talents like Lexi Hull or NaLyssa Smith in the future. But the alternative, letting Mitchell test free agency, is even riskier. Imagine Mitchell suiting up for a rival like the Golden State Valkyries, whose deep-pocketed management is rumored to be eyeing top free agents. Losing Mitchell would leave the Fever vulnerable, forcing Caitlin Clark to shoulder even more of the offensive burden. The Fever can't afford to lose their seasoned leader at a time when their young core is still finding its footing.
Here's the reality. Tommy's right. It's not just race, though. It's also sexuality. Caitlin Clark is a white heterosexual woman in a black lesbian league, and they resent and are jealous of all of the attention and the shoe deal.
And while Mitchell's situation is critical, Lexi Hull's emergence presents a new layer of complexity. Hull's transformation from an inconsistent player to a deadly three-point shooter has forced the Fever to reconsider their priorities. Over the last 16 games of the season, Hull's 50% accuracy from beyond the arc ranked her among the league's elite. With Clark drawing defenders and creating space, Hull's shooting could be the perfect complement to the team's offensive strategy. However, betting on Hull means leaving less room for veterans like Erica Wheeler and Tiffany Mitchell. Wheeler, known for her playmaking and leadership, has been instrumental in mentoring younger players, but her scoring has declined. Tiffany Mitchell, a dependable role player, may also be expendable as the team shifts its focus to younger, more versatile players. Then there's NaLyssa Smith, whose raw athleticism and versatility make her a must-protect player. Smith's ability to create her own shot and contribute on both ends of the floor has made her one one of the most sought-after young talents in the league, but there's a catch: her inconsistency. Smith has flashes of brilliance, but her inability to perform at an elite level consistently raises questions. Still, the Fever can't afford to lose her. If a blockbuster trade were ever on the table, Smith would be their best bargaining chip.
There is a lot of appropriate attention on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and we found out that the Fever Storm game from over the weekend drew 2.2 million viewers, which is massive. The WNBA has 18 games this season where they've had more than 1 million viewers average, and 16 of those 18 have featured Caitlin Clark. So you cannot deny the connectivity of Caitlin Clark playing basketball and people wanting to watch. If she's playing, they will come, they will watch the game.
The Fever's front office must also consider the long-term implications of their decisions. Players like Grace Berger, the hometown hero, represent more than just stats on paper. Berger's defensive versatility and local ties make her an asset for building fan loyalty and strengthening the team's identity. Yet protecting Berger might mean leaving more experienced players exposed, risking the loss of leadership in the locker room. And let's not forget the expansion teams. The Valkyries and Pilots are watching every move the Fever make, hoping to snag unprotected veterans or young players with upside. By leaving experienced players like Erica Wheeler unprotected, the Fever risk handing over valuable assets to their competition. At the same time, protecting veterans means fewer spots for rising stars who could be the backbone of the franchise's future. This high-stakes juggling act highlights the core challenge facing the Fever. Every decision has a domino effect. Coring Kelsey Mitchell limits cap flexibility. Protecting Lexi Hull means leaving another promising player vulnerable. Betting on Nalissa Smith's potential requires accepting her current inconsistency. And choosing veterans over youth could stunt the team's long-term growth. The Fever must also think beyond the expansion draft. Their moves now will shape their ability to attract free agents, retain young talent, and build a winning culture. Every dollar spent, every roster spot filled, and every player protected sends a message about what the Fever value most: immediate success or sustained dominance. These aren't just decisions about a roster, they're decisions about legacy. For Caitlin Clark to lead this franchise to glory, the Fever must surround her with the right players, the right chemistry, and the right strategy. The clock is ticking, and the Fever are playing a high-stakes game where the smallest misstep could cost them everything. The future of Indiana basketball depends on getting it right, and the pressure has never been greater. The Indiana Fever's roster decisions aren't just about who stays and who goes. They're about crafting a dynasty around Caitlin Clark, the future of basketball. While Clark's unstoppable rise puts her at the heart of the Fever's plans, the team's success will depend on the tough calls they make now. Players like Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, and Nalissa Smith hold the keys to building a championship contending roster, but balancing star power, potential, and experience is a monumental challenge. As the expansion draft looms, Angel Reese and Aja Wilson may continue to fuel the drama, but Caitlin Clark is ready to silence the doubters and prove why she's the league's next icon. The Fever's front office is under immense pressure to protect their core players while navigating the risks of leaving valuable veterans exposed. Every decision they make will shape the franchise's future and determine whether they dominate the league or become just another team in the mix. And the stakes couldn't be higher, and the clock is ticking. Will the Fever rise to the occasion, or will they let this golden opportunity slip away? One thing's for sure, all eyes are on Indiana, and the basketball world is holding its breath. If you're ready to dive into the latest and greatest moments in women's basketball, you're in the right place. Here on WNBA Original, we cover everything from breaking news to inspiring stories, bringing you closer to the action and the players who make it all happen. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications, so you'll always be the first to know what's happening on and off the court. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more from WNBA Original.